We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, Doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that's...
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
Welcome, everyone, to the American International Podcast. I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And I'm Jeff Markin.
And in this episode, we're going to look at the questionable science and even more questionable use of footage from Lamaze class movies in Born Black from 1969.
Born Black, which was made in Germany as Der verlogene Act, which translates as The Lying Act, was directed by Rolf von Sydow, written by Rolf von Sydow, Horst Manfred Adloff, and Hans-Jürgen Tögel. It was produced by Horst Manfred Adloff for Adloff-Film and Italian International, and distributed in the U.S. by American International for Hallmark Releasing Corporation.
Born Black stars Günther Schramm as Mr. Janson, Gabriele Buch as Elisabeth Janson, his wife, Elisabetta Fanti as Jenny, the waitress, Michael Hinz as Volker, Reiner Bronneke as Nathan, Rolf von Sydow as Olaf.
Also appearing are a number of actors who we weren't able to determine their characters because the film doesn't tell us. But amongst these are Ursula Oberst and Pierre Kozer, who we believe play Elizabeth's friends, Reinhold Neichmann, who may or may not portray Irving, Andre Ehulan, who most likely portrays Harry, Eva Feibig, probably Petra, as well as Hans Daniel, Roberta Catani, Petra Schroeder, and Sigrid von Richthofen.
Yes, these are our best guesses based on a little research I did trying to find pictures of some of these people. IMDb and Wikipedia are zero help. The movie's no help. Whoever dubbed it didn't give the characters names till sometimes late in the movie, sometimes never. So we are doing our best with what we have.
There may be more information in the German release, which we did not have access to, but I know is circulating.
We don't speak German anyways, so this is what we got. Born Black opens with ships and boats in the harbor, and we see some rich people on a yacht. The credits tell us that What a Wonderful World will be sung by Gitti. After the credits, we find ourselves on the docks, where Mr. Janson is giving a tour of his freight transportation business to his business partners and a VIP from America, Mr. Barker. Yeah, we see shipping containers being unloaded as they talk. Again, this is dubbed, so we're getting whatever the dubbers wanted us to know about this. But Janson is telling Mr. Barker all about his business. And Mr. Janson promises Mr. Barker a chance to see him letting loose at the event he has planned for them tonight. Then we cut away to the newspaper office. And things are slow. It seems to be a slow news decade. There are no scandals, which means no stories. One of the reporters, Petra, hasn't noticed that Mr. Janson is going to the opera, but that's pretty boring. But maybe they can look into his beautiful and mysterious wife. They'll cover her every move, follow the lady, and expose every detail. And it will be the scoop of the year, she says. Nathan, the editor, likes it. Deadly female, he says. Petra says that she knows her type, meaning Mrs. Janson. All women know about other women. Olaf, the photographer, thinks maybe he can get her to pose in the nude for him. He's anxious to get started, and Nathan tells him he'll be covering Jenson's cocktail party that evening, the one with the visiting VIPs. And now we're at the party, where we meet Mrs. Janson. Her name's Elisabeth. She's serenely greeting her guests. Mr. Janson introduces his colleagues to his wife. All the men think she's hot and say so. Mr. Barker is there. As they meet her, they're all murmuring how beautiful she is. But when she excuses herself, they get a little more graphic with their praise. They tell Janson that he's a lucky guy, and he laughs and says that they should get back to the matter at hand, which is serious drinking. Now we're inside the Grilling nightclub. That's capital G, capital R, capital I, capital LL, ing nightclub. Where the employees are getting ready for the Janson party tonight. It seems he's reserved the place for entertaining his guests. There are two women hanging up decorations. One of these is Jenny, and the other tells Jenny that she can make a big score with Janson. You're really hip, says Jenny. Tonight I'm going to do just that. The other waitress says that she's heard that Janson has a beautiful wife, but Jenny doesn't care. No one can compete with her in bed. And then we meet Jenny's boyfriend, Harry. He happens to be black, and he's a musician in the band that plays at the club. Now we're back at that cocktail party, and Elisabeth has gone to mingle with the other ladies. Petra, the reporter, is there with the photographer, Olaf,
and they ask if they can take some pictures. So all the husbands are summoned over for a group portrait with the wives.
While this is happening, we get an establishing shot of a nipple, a male nipple, a black male nipple, and then instantly we return to the party, which kind of gave me whiplash. That photograph is still being taken, and then we cut back to the nipple's owner and Jenny the waitress, who are having sex.
Then back at the party, the picture has finally been taken, so everybody disbands to have another drink. Elisabeth is talking to Mrs. Barker, who asks about her plans for the future. And are there any children in it?
A child would make your life complete, she says. Elisabeth agrees, but she and Mr. Janson haven't worked out the timetable yet. Mrs. Barker tells her she needs to find the time.
Then Mrs. Barker excuses herself to find her husband.
And now Bernard Janson starts assembling the male guests to split from this party to go to a more debauched party elsewhere.
They've arranged for the fewest number of cars to go and for everybody to ride together. And they're communicating this, but they're referring to it as the meeting with Mr. Barker.
Yes, they're telling their wives that they have an important off-site meeting that they have to go to right now in the middle of this cocktail party, which was to welcome Barker and his wife.
So all the men go off except for Volker, who is Elisabeth's brother. He's not invited because he's not a businessman. So he stays behind with the ladies. A whole garden full of ladies just for him, he says.
There's one dumb line where he says that Werner is ever the businessman, could be monkey. And now we're in the grilling nightclub where the other party is about to begin. Jenny is rounding up the girls while her boyfriend Harry, the trumpeter, is warming up with the band.
As the guests start to arrive, Jenny and Harry go to the door to greet them. Janson introduces the American, Mr. Barker, to Harry, then personally greets Jenny, whom he calls Pussycat, and he asks if she's got everything arranged for him.
I wonder if Harry is supposed to be from America too, and that's why he made that particular introduction. However, all the dubbing is in American accented voices, so we'll never know. The party goes on for how long we don't know, but we see Janson ordering a round of drinks for everyone. Back at the Janson home, it's now dark. Mrs. Barker wants her husband. A male voice, not sure who, reassures her that Mr. Barker is being well taken care of.
Back at the nightclub, drinks are still going around, and we learn that Barker comes from Washington when he says, "I come from Washington."
DC or state, we don't know.
Janson is sitting with Jenny, and he tells her to keep those drinks coming. They've got to keep their American customer happy. Then he whispers to her to go get one of the girls out there to do her number.
Back at the Janson home, Mrs. Barker is tipsy. The gals are all sitting on the dimly lit patio. Elisabeth tells her blonde friend, name unknown, that she has a nice man for her. But that friend doesn't want a man. We'll find out why later. Back at the club, Harry is blowing his horn so a stripper can peel off her dress and undies for the benefit of the Americans who do seem to appreciate it.
The jazz combo is playing What a Wonderful World.
Perfect stripper song.
Janson asks Jenny to make sure that she gives Barker special attention, and Jenny points the stripper in Barker's direction. Then Janson tells Jenny that he hopes that she's going to take off everything. The stripper overhears this and complies.
Although below the frame, so we don't see anything. And now it's later in that same party, and the men are dancing with their selected ladies. Janson gets Jenny to strip off her top for everyone to see. Then she starts taking blackmail photos of all Janson's associates, even Barker. And that should make the business proposal an easy sell, or so you'd think.
And then all the waitresses in the restaurant go to each of the men in turn with the photographs to collect money in exchange for them.
So the dividends are reaped immediately for them. And Mr. Barker looks at the photo of him and the girls, smiles, and then rips it up.
Now we're back at the Janson home, and that cocktail party is still going on in the pitch black of night.
You can call it a party.
Some of the women are laughing, and Elisabeth asks what's so funny. They say she wouldn't understand. It's about sex.
They say she doesn't play by their rules. And Elisabeth says, "Oh, you mean not being faithful?" They insinuate that Elizabeth's husband is keeping her in the dark for his own private purposes.
Elisabeth thinks maybe they should change the subject. Now back at the real party, Janson is macking on Jenny.
On his pussycat.
He wants to get her alone. She says she has to ask Harry. She goes over and tells Harry she's using the back room. Then she motions for Janson to follow her. He tries to act discreet as he follows her into the back room.
The one non-participant in the decadence, and we'll find out later his name is Irving, sees this, as does another guy who might be with the newspaper. Not sure. Anyway, then we cut to Janson and Jenny having sex. And just to keep score, this is the second person she's had sex with today.
And back at the cocktail party at the Janson home, Volker is drunkenly directing the women to their taxis. I guess the party is finally winding down.
I called them the dozy drunk dames.
And at the grilling club, the sex between Janson and Jenny continues.
One of the guys in the bar spots them doing the deed and then tells all the other men. They say now that Janson has gotten the ball rolling, who will be next? Then one of the men decides to record this for the official record. He grabs the nearest woman, turns her to face the wall, unzips her dress, and starts writing the minutes of this meeting on her bare back.
He ends with, all of the undersigned are privileged to sleep with me.
Who's me?
Well, he's writing it on her, so it's supposed to be her word.
It's pretty rude for him to volunteer her for everybody. It seems like if they were just nice, they could each have their own woman.
Back at the Janson house, Elisabeth tells her brother, Volker, that he's been drinking too much. He says not to worry about him. He tells her that she is a naive wife, just like Iris said.
She one of the ladies at the party?
I guess. Elisabeth goes to retire, and Volker says that he's going to stay up and have another drink.
And now, outside the girling nightclub, the party's over. It's daytime. We see Irving leaving. A car pulls up, and Irving goes over to talk to the driver. It's Olaf, the photographer. Olaf asks if anything newsworthy happened last night. Irving says, nope, just the typical Janson party, nothing worth printing. And then he declines a ride and walks off.
And at the Janson home, Volker awakens on the sofa, a bottle still in his hand. He gets up and starts hobbling around the house, and he bumps into a girl wearing a nightie and curlers.
I guess she was at the party last night, too.
When they hear Janson returning home, Volker sends her up to bed, saying he'll join her later.
As Janson is coming in, Volker goes exploring again, and he goes into a bedroom to see two women having sex. He says that he'd join them, but he hasn't got the energy. And then they throw him out. He wasn't invited. Janson goes up to Elisabeth in bed. He starts a bath, he starts to undress, and he starts to take an Alka-Seltzer, but it all gets interrupted when Elisabeth wakes up in an amorous mood.
Janson succumbs to her charms, and they have sex, while the bathtub continues to fill.
I guess it has that overflow valve, so the house doesn't get flooded.
Elsewhere in the house, Volker finds the girl he's been looking for. He sits down on the bed next to her. He says hello and kisses her back. She doesn't move, so he picks up the bottle he gave her and leaves with it.
She sits up and says, hey.
Then we cut back to Janson and Elisabeth's bedroom where they're continuing their act. And then we cut away to where those two women are continuing their act. And then we cut to Volker sitting on the toilet, finally finishing his bottle.
No drinking problem there. And now Janson and Elisabeth are enjoying the afterglow, although he looks kind of guilty. Later we see her down in the kitchen, surprised to see her husband there for breakfast. But he says after last night, he thought he should spend some time with her.
He pulls on a chair for her, and she takes a seat. As the maid serves their breakfast, Janson says it's surprising that she's never taken a lover on the side. She tells him not to joke like that. Well, he says, people do things.
It's become normal now. But she says that she's happy with him. Janson says that her morals are impeccable, and then congratulates himself for having a loyal wife. But then he tries to make her feel guilty for putting the stress of being the perfect husband on him.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on him to have to live up to those same standards. She says that faithfulness is easy if people see it as important.
He calls her difficult. Like last night, she asks, alluding to their sex, even though it was actually in the daytime. He says last night was a change for them both.
Two men are sitting on lawn chairs. We believe one of them is Nathan, the newspaper editor.
And I think this is at Elisabeth's house in the backyard.
They're discussing that Elisabeth is unapproachable. And as they're saying this, Elisabeth is approaching them. She comes up and they jump up to greet her. One of the men, the one who isn't Nathan, asks if he were a Maharaja, how much would it cost to put her in his harem? She tells him that he couldn't afford it. Come on, he says, every woman has a secret lover. Why can't it be you and me?
She declines, so he puts his hand up her skirt. Horrified, she shoves him away and runs off. Nathan tells him that he better watch his hands.
In the next scene, Elisabeth is in a car being driven through a tunnel.
By somebody. Don't know who.
This man hits on her too, saying he can keep her company while her husband is out of town. She tells him to just watch the road.
The two of them arrive at the stables. They look at the horses, and she is a little flirty with him, but not overtly sexual. She seems to be the only monogamous one in their social circle, though. When it's time to go, he tells her that they're going to go back to his place. Offended, she walks off because she's getting her own ride home.
So this shows that she's fighting off the approaches of men everywhere she goes and remaining faithful to her husband.
Good for her. If only he was worth it.
Next, we join Volker at work. Volker is a photographer, and he's having a model pose with headphones next to a gramophone.
They seem to be trying to create that His Master's Voice ad that RCA Victor used to run. Although she's not a dog, she's a woman wearing a sheer top, sitting on a stool next to the gramophone.
Volker goes back to take the picture when Elisabeth surprises him with a visit. She surprises him even more with the news that she's pregnant.
No, he says. But then he changes his tune and seems to be excited to be an uncle. I like how he just had to take one picture. All he had to do was take one picture and then he was done. Anyway.
Now we're back at the harbor, and the SS Elisabeth pulls up to a dock, and Janson and Elisabeth exit onto that dock, where a party is going on in honor of their pregnancy.
Everyone seems excited to see the mom-to-be. Janson toasts her. The photographer, Olaf, takes her picture. Petra's also there and she congratulates them. And then a barrage of people line up to kiss Elisabeth, who looks sick.
One of the men in attendance comments that none of them can get to her now.
They couldn't get to her before. And now we get a montage of Werner and Elisabeth being a happy couple in the park as Gitta sings What a Wonderful World. This is the second time we're hearing this, but at least nobody's stripping.
Next, we see a very pregnant Elisabeth lounging in a chair by the river. Janson and Volker are there. They take turns listening to her belly. Janson is sure it's a boy. He kicks like a Janson.
As Volker is putting his ear on his sister's belly, Janson spots someone spying on them from behind a tree.
He and Volker go to investigate and find Olaf the photographer playing paparazzo.
Janson reads him the riot act. He's granted the paper exclusive rights to the baby's pictures, but he'll rescind that if he ever catches Olaf trespassing again. Olaf apologizes, just to Volker though, and leaves.
Now Janson and Elisabeth are preparing the nursery, which needs a lot of work. The walls are a drab gray. It's a big open space with just a bassinet next to the window. Janson asks if Elisabeth knows how to do all the things. Like what, she asks. Like diapers. She says she'll figure all that out when the time comes. That's what I thought, says Janson. They better bring in a nurse.
And then he surprises her with a huge stuffed frog, which actually kind of scares her. I don't know if that was the cause, but now we're in the hospital and it's time for her to have that baby. Janson wants to stay with his wife, but this is the 60s and that's really not a thing. But he resists when everyone tries to shoo him out.
And the doctor allows it, probably because Janson is wearing a white coat just like theirs and he looks like he belongs there.
Also, he's rich. And we have to watch the birth to the soundtrack of What a Wonderful World. Again. Third time. This looks like Lamaze class footage. It's really disgusting. We thought it lasted about 10 minutes, but it was really just a couple. I looked away the first time, and I've had kids. So. After the birth, Elisabeth doesn't look very impressed, but I can't blame her for that.
In the next scene, the doctor is having a conference with Janson, and the doctor tells him that the mother and the baby are both healthy, but the baby is black.
The blood test confirms it.
Janson may be the husband, but he's certainly not the father. Janson can't believe this. Things like this just don't happen.
Janson says the baby was born with white skin, like him. The doctor says that all babies are born that way. Their skin pigment comes in later.
Janson has some serious thinking to do, so he leaves. As he does, Olaf the photographer goes into the baby ward to try to get some pictures of baby Janson.
Wow, security was really loose back then.
He readies his camera, but an attendant throws him out. Sans pictures.
They should have taken his camera and had him arrested, but anyway. Now in the newspaper office, Olaf is complaining that the hospital wouldn't let him, a strange man, near other people's babies. Nathan says that they promised him exclusive pictures. Another editor comes in and says, will these pictures do? Holding some pictures of a random black mom and baby and a random black nurse and white baby.
They're anxious to run with the story because this just might be the scandal they've been waiting for.
Petra remembers the thalidomide tragedy a few years earlier and wonders if there's another reason this baby could have been born black. But Nathan says, no, we're going to stick with the most likely reason. It's Occam's razor. Olaf said he tried to bribe Elisabeth's doctor, but the doctor had ethics, you know? Nathan says he's going to check with his contacts to see if he can get anywhere. And keep in mind, the newspaper knows that this baby was born black.
Back at the hospital, the nurse hands the baby to Elisabeth. This isn't my baby, she says. Oh, yes, it is, says the nurse.
I guess she didn't read the paper yet. She didn't know she had a black baby.
Elisabeth asks where her husband is, and the nurse says that he's not there, and she leaves.
She leaves this poor woman alone with a baby that she didn't know was black. I feel bad for both of them. And now in a car, Werner Jensen's business cronies ask him if he's sure he really wants to do this. He's sure.
Volker goes to visit his sister in the hospital. He asks him to tell her all about what's happening. She tells him that her baby is black. Volker says, yes, I saw him. But that's not important.
He's cool, at least for now.
As for Janson, he doesn't care and he's washing his hands of the whole thing. He's still in the car with his cronies and he gives power of attorney to one and asks that the divorce be finalized and Elisabeth kicked out of the house.
He's not even going to divorce his own wife. He's going to delegate that.
They ask if he's sure about this, and Janson is positive. He knows what's best for him.
And he says that money is no object. Just get him out of there. The car parks on a tarmac and everyone gets out. Janson gets on the plane. His minions tell him not to worry about anything, and he chuckles. After he goes in the plane, though, Olaf is there to snap his picture. Where does he come from? He just seems to materialize out of nowhere.
Volker ends his visit with Elisabeth with a goodbye, and as he's leaving, he bumps into Irving, who's coming in to visit Elisabeth. Meanwhile, Janson has checked himself into a hotel in London. under the name of Seibert from Hamburg.
And then, this is another weird scene. Via a photo montage, we see Elisabeth's brother Volker trying to drum up support for single mom Elisabeth. He talks to Janson's associates, Søren, Nathan, Silverson, but they can't risk their livelihoods helping Werner's ex.
Even Nathan at the paper, who had no professional ties to Janson, was no help because he couldn't put his journalistic tendencies aside.
Typical editor.
But there was one guy who could help, Irving. Irving agrees to try to help Elisabeth.
In a taxi, Elisabeth and the baby are dropped off at her new digs. Volker is there to show her around. Also, Olaf's there. Upstairs in the cramped flat, two of Elisabeth's friends are there. It's the two that we've seen before. They take the baby and coo over him, and he is cute, to be fair. Elisabeth looks distressed, though.
But over in London, Janson is hiding out in the lounge at the hotel. He receives a phone call. He takes it and tells the caller he doesn't want to bargain, just finalize the deal so it's safe for him to return to the country.
He says to just get it done, have her sign the papers, and then he'll send her the money.
He sits back down, and a woman sitting nearby reading the paper asks, "Trouble at home?"
This is a young, leggy blonde. I can see something happening here. And now the baby, who still has no name, is baptized. Irving says to Volker that the baby may have a throwback gene, and that's why he's black. Both agree that Elisabeth's not a cheater, but Volker says the family line has been whitey white white for the past 400 years.
Which leaves them with the only possibility that Elisabeth cheated, but Volker doesn't believe this. She doesn't keep secrets from me, he says. And Irving replies, "For now it remains a mystery."
Now, Elisabeth's coming home from somewhere carrying the baby and finds Irving on the sidewalk in front of her flat. He says that her nurse told him that she wasn't there. "That's funny. I don't have a nurse," she says.
But when they go inside, she finds that there is indeed a nurse guarding her door.
It's an old woman in Florence Nightingale drag waiting for her.
The nurse explains that the church sent her, and they all go inside.
Elisabeth looks alarmed, but invites her in anyways. Irving takes the baby away so that Elisabeth can talk to the nurse.
The nurse explains that there is no color barrier in their congregation, so if Elisabeth were to join their church, they can help her find a family for the baby.
Elisabeth doesn't know how she can do this, but the nurse tells her to have faith. Elisabeth says that her God has left her. The nurse simplistically says that God never leaves his people.
Elisabeth thinks this might be the answer, putting up the baby for adoption. Irving tells her that she needs to think long and hard before deciding to give up her baby. He'll help her in any way he can, but he asks that she not give her child away.
Now we're at the marina, where Volker is dining with those two female friends of Elisabeth's. He tells them he's baffled. They're baffled too. Elisabeth with a black man? He shoves one of them. He would know if she was with a black guy. She would have told him. I got the impression someone was watching them, but we never see who. But I would imagine it's Olaf. The other catty chick says maybe Elisabeth was raped. Volker says that they don't believe that. They knew her. "I thought I knew her," one begins. "You better believe you did," says Volker.
Meanwhile, Elisabeth is fretting in her apartment, as she appears to be expecting a call. And the phone rings. She answers. It's her husband, Janson. He tells her that their lives are taking different paths. She and the baby will be taken care of financially, and she shouldn't beg with him to return to her. He's already made other plans.
He says they should never speak of this again, understand? Bro, you called her.
Then he's surprised when she hangs up on him. She goes to grab the baby carrier, and she brings the baby downstairs.
The words of her crappy husband echoing in her ears.
After his phone call, Janson returns to the hotel, where he meets up with the blonde woman he was speaking with earlier.
Trouble at home?
He has the porter bring them some cocktails, so they can continue their discussion.
He moved on fast. Elisabeth's on the street, and she runs into a black man who comments that it's not common to see a white woman with a black baby. At first, I thought this was Harry from the club, which would be a really interesting turn of events, if highly coincidental and unbelievable.
The man tells Elisabeth that she looks familiar, and he goes to this bar regularly. Maybe she's been there? Elisabeth seriously doubts that she had been to his bar.
She doesn't go to bars.
He says that his bar is different. It caters to blacks and whites. Elisabeth didn't know there was a place like that.
He convinces her to let him hold the baby carrier. It's a tough sell, because why would you give your baby to a stranger? No matter if it's a man, woman, black, or any color. He introduces himself as Tim Brown. Olaf, the photographer, drives past and turns around to follow the two of them.
Now, Volker and those two friends of Elisabeth's show up at Elisabeth's apartment looking for her. They're worried that she's not there, so they're going to put in a call to Irving.
Elizabeth isn't there because she's found a different apartment to check into.
It's 35 marks a week, and she's proving that she doesn't need any favors from Janson.
She hasn't had a job in her entire life. I don't know how she's going to pay for this. Maybe she has family money?
And now we see Irving has received a call from Olaf the photographer and has come out to meet with him at what appears to be a park. Olaf has lost track of Mrs. Janson and was hoping that Irving could tell him where he could find her. He checked the country club, but she wasn't there. And she hasn't returned home.
Irving wants to know why Olaf wants Elisabeth. Olaf stammers that he has this assignment. Irving offers Olaf his number, but Olaf has nothing to work with. I mean, he works for a newspaper after all. Why would he have anything to write on? So Irving writes the phone number down for him.
Now Elisabeth is fretting in her new, smaller apartment. The baby starts to cry.
She begs the baby to stop. Then she puts on her shoes to leave. Then she puts a pillow over him, but instantly regrets it and cradles her poor blameless baby.
She apologizes to him, and she knows that none of this is his fault.
Now we're going to stay with Volker for a while. We find him in the grilling nightclub. One of Elisabeth's girlfriends confronts Volker and says that he's selfish for not going after Elisabeth. Volker says he tried the police, but they were no help. So she tells him to go look for her himself. And he does.
His first stop is a bratwurst stand. Do you want your bratwurst plain or with curry? Asked the vendor.
You're sounding like Cagney. She did have a New York accent.
He asks if she's seen a white woman with a black baby. There's a few of those around here, she says. Volker says that she'd recognize her. She's very pretty and lonely. Her name's Elisabeth Janson, and she's married to a wealthy industrialist. And he'll have a drink with his brat.
Investigation concluded. Volker returns to the bar and sits with some random people, black and white, and makes an obnoxious ass of himself. A black woman tries to hit on him, and he seems receptive, but he breaks away when he sees a white kid sitting with a black mom. He goes over to their booth and asks the woman if the baby has a white dad, and the woman confirms it.
Yes. He continues to bug them, asking dumb questions, and decides that the world is full of surprises.
Indeed. He returns to the black woman, who brings him back to the sex pad in the back of the club. She strips for him, but he rudely rejects her. So he kind of sucks. Then we see Elisabeth. She's in bed with the baby, and the baby's still sleeping. And she goes into the bathroom to light a candle. And then we cut back to London, where Janson is dining with his new lady.
Then we're back at the newspaper. The presses are running, and Nathan and Petra are watching the newspapers being printed. Irving busts in, telling them to stop the presses. He's got the real story, straight from the doctors. Jenny, that blonde, had been in bed with a black man before making love with Werner.
He says it's been medically proven. Astoundingly, they believe him, and the presses are stopped, and the issue is killed.
Then Irving and Olaf go off to tell Jenny and Harry the news. Harry has a baby. Jenny is thrilled for some reason, and Olaf takes a picture to commemorate the occasion.
Well, at least the baby has a dad now. And back with Volker. He's still drunk. He's wandering around on the streets and gets invited up to a random party. He tells the people there that he needs to drink because of a black child. Then he starts crawling over some random woman, babbling about sex. He gets off her, goes to the wall, goes over to the fireplace, where he finds a broken globe, which to him illustrates how sex, sodomy, and infidelity has destroyed the world. See?
He throws the globe to the floor and walks over to the piano. He pounds on it briefly, then convinces others at the party to help him toss the piano out the window.
What is this movie? At Elisabeth's place, she's surprised to find Olaf in her room taking pictures of her screaming baby. She screams at him to get out. He pushes her away and keeps taking pictures.
As she falls, she breaks a bottle of liquor. As it pours from the bottle, she lights a match, and the whole apartment ignites. Olaf tells Elisabeth to get out. He'll take care of the baby. He grabs the baby and runs him out into the hallway where Irving is waiting. Then Olaf says he's got to go back and get Elisabeth. She's still in there. Flames fill the screen, along with the sound of screams.
And now we're in London, where Janson is in bed with his new woman. The phone rings and wakes him up. He answers and is confused at first and then says, "Oh no, awful. I'll be on the next plane."
He hangs up and she asks, "Trouble at home?" And he says there's been an accident. My wife is dead.
And now there's a funeral procession. Everyone parks on the street and gets out to walk over.
There's about 3 cars pulling up and about 40 mourners pile out of them.
And then, What a Wonderful World unironically plays over a long shot of Elisabeth's funeral. Olaf photographs the scene for posterity. Everyone lines up to give Janson and Volker their condolences.
Then everyone piles back into the same 3 cars, except for Irving, who walks. Alone. As a card comes up over him saying, "The story you've just seen is based on a true incident. Only the names and places have been altered."
And that's the end. Welcome back to the American International Podcast. We're talking about Born Black from 1969.
Born Black was written in the summer of 1969. According to the U.S. theatrical ads, Born Black is based on a real event. In Malmö, Sweden, on November 12, 1970, a black child was born to white parents. The wife had never been with anyone except her own husband. This astounding story has now been recreated in film. Born Black is this story. It is based on fact.
Born Black, or Der Verlogene Act, was released in Germany on December 4th, 1969, and in Italy on June 24th, 1970, as Il Seme dell'Altro.
Hallmark Releasing Corporation released the film under the title Born Black in some U.S. theaters beginning in March of 1972. In some markets, such as Massachusetts, it was rated X. Everywhere else, it was rated R. Born Black would be all but unavailable if it weren't for the Something Weird video release for home viewing.
Well, thank goodness we got our hands on it. Taglines for Born Black include, "This is not my baby."
Your baby is black, the authenticated medical phenomenon.
Born Black is based on a miraculous true story.
The shock begins the instant you realize it really did happen.
The husband, he brought something more than a hangover home from a wild, wild party. The wife, a one-man woman, she had every right to believe her baby would be the same color as its parents.
The most shocking and unusual film you will ever see.
Witness the actual birth, white mother, black baby.
Because of the frank and revealing nature of this story, it is recommended for persons over 17 years of age.
The Encyclopedia of International Film wrote that this film was a social drama oriented towards the rules of illustrated drama, sentimental and superficial.
In 1995, Rolf wrote in his book Sex Transfigured, the German educational film, that what is medically possible seems like a fight against windmills in this accusatory enlightenment.
And both of those reviews were translated from the German by Wikipedia, so apologies if they're not exactly correct. So this is a movie that, I was going to say shouldn't exist. We shouldn't have it. We shouldn't have had to watch it. It's just so strange and unbelievable. Our copy was so badly dubbed. It just seems like a mistake all the way around.
Yeah, I don't know the reason that this movie was made. It was made in Germany, obviously, and I don't know what was going on socially, politically in Germany at this time. But this is a couple of years after they released Helga, which AIP also released, and it was another film with a childbirth.
Oh.
With an actual childbirth within it. So I would think that by the late 60s, early 70s, that this thing was kind of passé in the US, except for these imported films. But this still seems to be prime entertainment in Germany.
Well, we can't really judge what the Germans saw based on what we saw. Our copy was a bad print that was badly dubbed and almost unintelligible. It was so hard to tell what was going on. Honestly, this movie is so short, but we must have spent 4 some hours just trying to get the plot details right. And the characters. I worked so hard to figure out who these actors are. I'm probably wrong, at least most of them. Character names are never given. These actors aren't listed in Internet Movie Database with their pictures. In both IMDb and Wikipedia, only 5 actors are listed. Only 3 of them have the character names accompanying the actors' names. It's like this movie doesn't want you to know anything about it. There's no reviews. There's no information on box office returns, how well it did. There was no information on the production of it. I just really don't know anything about this movie, and I've seen it twice.
It's a pretty obscure film, and I think there might just be a reason for that.
It's not good?
Yeah, it's not a very good film.
No, and I take issue with the fact that this is a real medical phenomenon. I tried to look that up too, and I didn't find anything. It certainly didn't happen in 1970 because this movie came out in 1969. So that's all a lie.
So I think the question is, why was this movie made? Is it supposed to be exploitation? Is it supposed to be titillating? Is it trying to send a message about infidelity?
Or racial relations? It seems like everyone's real problem was that the baby was black. If Jenny had slept with a white guy, nobody would even know the difference if somebody else had been the father. But the fact that the baby wasn't white, everyone thinks that Elisabeth had to have not only slept with somebody else, but with a black guy. And that seems to be what's really enraging people. And when we see the guy on the street meet Elisabeth and the baby, he's talking about how his club has white and black people attending. And she says, wow, she's never heard of anything like that. I think that's just kind of shocking, from a 2025 perspective, that in the swinging 60s, in a big city in Germany, that white people and black people existing in the same entertainment space was so unheard of. At least that's what the producers thought.
Well, by 1972 in the U.S., segregation would not be legal.
No, by that time, black people and white people could legally marry. I don't know. I get really hung up on not just that part of the movie about the black baby, but the way that the newspaper story is handled. They want a scandal. They find a scandal. This guy takes all his business cronies out to have sex with strange women, But that's not scandalous enough for them. They want something on the wife, who is completely blameless.
Well, I don't think that they knew about the party.
They had to have known.
Olaf, they know the party was going on. Olaf was there, but they weren't at the party. The only contact he had was Irving, and Irving isn't going to betray his friend.
I take issue with that because Olaf was at the cocktail party. Olaf probably saw them going off somewhere else. Why didn't he follow him? He is always on top of Elisabeth. He's in her nursery. He pops up in her house, and that leads to her death. He is always everywhere. Why wouldn't he just follow the guys? I know they had already made up their mind to make Elisabeth the focus of the story, but they don't have anything on her. They just want to find something. But they could have found tons of stuff on Janson. He's a wealthy industrialist. I think we all know that people who are wealthy industrialists aren't absolutely paragons of virtue. So, number one, they're dumb in following the wrong lead. And number two, why are people cooperating with them? This seems to be a scandal rag. It's not the Hamburg Daily News. This is the Hamburg Inquirer. Why are they going along with them? Why is Irving handing his phone number to Olaf, the creepy photographer? Why did Janson promise them anything? These guys are creeps.
Kind of get the impression that the Hamburg portrayed in this film is just a small town and everybody just knows each other.
It does seem like a lot of coincidental meetings happen. But Hamburg wasn't the little burg.
No, it wasn't. It isn't. But this Hamburg seems to be.
Well, I guess if you're dealing with the upper crust of society, it probably is a lot more insulated. There probably is a lot more of people knowing everything about each other. But then it should be well known what Janson's proclivities are. He has a girl on the side. This isn't the first time he's been with Jenny.
And he shouldn't be tight with the members of the press if this is the way they're going to be behaving toward him.
Right, exactly. I mean, sure, they took their focus off of him and put it on his wife, but at the time he kind of cared about her. I don't know.
Irving's kind of the hero of the story, and he's friends with everybody.
Yeah, I liked Irving. He's probably the only good character in, well, Elisabeth, but she's boring. But Irving is probably the most interesting and respectable character in this movie. Janson was such a jerk because he cheated on his wife the night she got pregnant, but he doesn't see himself as being a hypocrite for blaming his wife for allegedly doing the same. And the reason is because the baby's black. If he had known his wife had slept with a white man, would he still have had that same reaction? Would he still have been like, I must divorce her immediately. I can't be any part of this.
If he found out the baby wasn't his, I believe he would, because I believe he's that shallow.
Yeah. I just don't know that his reaction would have been so virulent. So
there wouldn't have been a reason for him to question it.
No. And he shouldn't have. She didn't sleep with anybody else. He's apparently a carrier of other people's sperm. I mean, just thinking medically, this just seems impossible. Unless you put it in a test tube or something, you got it sealed in a vial and then you insert it in the woman. I just don't see how hours pass between these sexual encounters, and yet there's still a living swimmer out there that's going to impregnate the third person it comes in contact with.
If this is possible, the odds have to be astronomically against it.
Yeah, I mean, prove me wrong if you know what actually led to this story, but I couldn't find anything, and I wasn't surprised not to find anything. Just all around mess of a movie. I wasn't really thrilled to watch the first time or the second time.
It's not a good movie in any aspect, but at least it didn't make me feel gross watching it. I just didn't really care.
You didn't feel gross watching that baby burp up all the amniotic fluid as it came out of her?
Well, I didn't say that wasn't gross. I just didn't feel dirty for watching it.
No, I actually felt kind of morally superior. I mean, I wouldn't be so cruel to somebody for something I did. I'm not a sleazy journalist. Yeah, everyone is kind of awful in this movie except for Elisabeth and Irving. Even Volker, who's ostensibly a good guy, just totally spirals out of control by the end of it for no apparent reason. I don't know why we had to spend any time with him after he saw Elisabeth for the last time.
His character is kind of weird. This is the last time we see him, except for the funeral when he's dumping the piano off the roof, out the window.
Why did they have that? Does that mean something? Is it some sort of commentary on society? It's so weird. There's so much weird in this movie. I guess that's why Something Weird put it out.
I think Volker is probably the weirdest character of the entire movie.
I know. He's the only one whose motivations I can't pin down. He's just drunk. And the reason he's drunk is because his sister had a black baby. And thus he must wander the streets looking for people and pianos to inflict his angst on. All right. So just so we don't have to talk about this for very much longer, Let's give this movie a rating using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic. What do you got, Jeff?
Well, I really hate giving a P to a movie unless it really deserves it. And I have to say, this one deserves it. I can't recommend anybody seek this out. It's hard to find, and that's probably for a good reason. So unless you're extremely curious, there is no reason to track this one down.
Or masochistic. You hate yourself that much.
So I just can't in good conscience give this movie any better than a P for pathetic. What about you?
The only thing that I think could save this movie is if you were watching it in the context of a big movie watch party at home, or maybe in the theater where somebody's like, all right, now we're going to play this super weird movie, and the audience just kind of heckles it as it goes along, giving it the riff tracks or Mystery Science Theater treatment. That would probably be the only context in which this movie could conceivably be enjoyable. But we watched it at home, and you're right. This movie is pathetic. It has bad production values. I think even without the print, it still doesn't seem like a great movie. It's very dim. It looks like it's always cloudy there. The story is stupid and doesn't make sense, and it's not believable. And almost everybody in the movie is loathsome. And then you have to watch a baby being born from the vagina's eye view. Yeah, it's gross. I saw a baby being born in Lamaze class, and I was like, oh, that's not happening to me. And it turns out I had 2 C-sections. So I was right. Yeah, it's gross. So this movie it's just dumb and gross. It's a pathetic movie. I'm glad we both agree. I would think less of you if you gave it a better grade.
One more thing we can agree on is that everyone should visit our website, aippod.com. That's where you can find trailers, lobby cards, posters, as well as links to where you can watch the movies we cover. You can listen to all of our past episodes, and you can find a list of movies that we're still looking forward to hopefully cover on the podcast one day. If you can help us find any of these movies, or you just want to say hey, you can also message us from the site. And of course, there's also a link to our store where you can purchase items related to American International Podcast. And any purchase from the store will help us keep the podcast alive and the website going. So again, that's aippod.com.
All right, I think we've heard What a Wonderful World more than enough times for one day. For the American International Podcast, I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And I'm Jeff Markin.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in.
Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.